Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into what is honestly a massive, high-stakes balancing act for any dev team, your application logs. I am so thrilled you're here, because we're tackling something that will literally make or break your incident response. We just covered error handling in a previous session, but right now, it's time to talk about all those secrets you're quietly saving behind the scenes.
So let's start with a really critical question. Think about this for a second. When something goes wrong, like a breach, a sudden outage, or just some subtle misconfiguration, your logs are usually your absolute best and sometimes your only forensic tool to figure out what actually happened. But here's the terrifying flip side, right? They are also a literal treasure chest for attackers. If a bad actor gets their hands on your logs and those logs are just packed with credentials, session tokens, or unprotected personal info, well, your best defense just turned into a secondary data breach waiting to happen.
Here's our roadmap for securing your log lifecycle today. First, the double-edged sword. Second, the do's and don'ts. Third, defeating log injection. Fourth, secure logging by language. And finally, storage, retention, and alerts. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The double-edged sword.
You know, OWASP actually puts logging failures right up there in their top 10 vulnerabilities. And look, this isn't just about missing a couple of server errors. The real vulnerability comes from essentially flying blind without logs, or maybe generating a ton of alerts that literally no one monitors, or failing to protect your log integrity so attackers can just quietly delete their tracks. If your logs are incomplete, or if you aren't actively guarding them, every pen tester and every malicious actor out there knows you're wide open. It's a Goldilocks problem. You have to log enough to detect attacks, but not so much that you accidentally enable them.
Moving on to Section 2. The do's and don'ts.
Okay, we need to draw some absolute red lines here. Never, ever log bearer tokens like JWTs, because anyone holding those can just instantly impersonate your users. Never log credit cards, that's a straight-up PCI DSS violation, or PII like social security numbers, which will totally wreck your GDPR and HIPAA compliance. Oh, and as a default rule, avoid logging full request bodies. They are just massive, unpredictable traps for sensitive data. But on the flip side, you absolutely must log your security audit trail. Every single 403 response, every admin action, or a sudden spike in input validation errors. That is a massive neon sign pointing straight to an active vulnerability scanning attack, and you need to see it.
Section 3. Defeating log injection.
So let's look at how a log injection attack actually unfolds. It usually starts super simply. An attacker just drops a new line or some control characters into a standard input field. Then your system logs that input completely as is, without any sanitization. Because of those sneaky, unescaped new lines, fake log entries get forged, basically making it look like a totally different user did something malicious, or maybe your log parser just outright breaks. But here's the real kicker. If your admin dashboard renders those log entries as HTML, boom, the attacker just injected cross-site scripting directly into the system reviewer's browser. The fix for this is incredibly straightforward but absolutely vital. Always strip or encode new lines and control characters from user data before it ever touches your logs.
Let's look at Section 4. Secure logging by language.
All right, let's talk code. Across all languages, your golden rule is to rely on structured JSON logging. Honestly, skip the messy strings. If you're in Python, grab libraries like structlog and set up reduction filters to automatically strip out credit card or email patterns. For the Node.js folks, use Pinot or Winston with redaction serializers. And please, I am begging you, never use synchronous console.log in production. It completely blocks your event loop and gives you zero reduction capabilities. And for Java developers using SLF4J, just make sure your maps diagnostic context only holds correlation IDs, never personal data. Also, be super careful with exception.getMessage so you don't accidentally leak your entire database schema in a stack trace.
And finally, Section 5. Storage, retention, and alerts.
Think about this. If your server gets compromised, your logs are only safe if they're already sitting somewhere else. You've got to centralize them immediately. Ship your logs off the application server over TLS so they can't be sniffed on the wire. You absolutely need to use append-only storage so attackers can't just go back and delete their tracks. Better yet, utilize immutable cloud storage like S3 Object Lock. You'll often hear this called worm, or write once, read many. And if you're in a highly secure environment, go ahead and implement hash chaining or digital signatures. That gives you absolute, undeniable cryptographic proof that your forensic data hasn't been tampered with. Now, all this data collection creates a seriously complex compliance timeline, and it's a real tug-of-war. On one hand, you have GDPR demanding the immediate deletion or anonymization of unnecessary personal data. Seriously, you shouldn't keep it a second longer than you actually need it. But on the other hand, standards like PCI DSS strictly require you to hold on to logs for 12 full months, with 3 of those months being immediately available for investigation. So having a clearly defined retention policy that balances your incident investigation needs against strict privacy laws is absolutely crucial.
Listen, you have to automate your log rotation and archival. Do not ever rely on a human being to remember to log in and clear out old files. If you do that, it will inevitably lead to a full disk. And look, a full disk on a production server isn't just a minor annoyance. It will bring your entire application down. It is functionally a self-inflicted denial of service attack caused entirely by your own logs. So automate this process from day one.
Logs without alerts? They're really just files quietly eating up your disk space. You need automated monitoring that actually triggers when patterns indicate a real attack. For example, a sudden massive spike in authentication failures. That means brute forcing. A spike in 403 responses? Someone is probing your access controls. And if a brand new admin account is suddenly created at 3 a.m. or system configs start changing out of nowhere, you need to know about it instantly. You don't necessarily need a massive, expensive SIM right out of the gate, but you do need to route these alerts to a real human using tools like the ELK stack or Grafana, because a dashboard turning red doesn't help anyone if no one is awake to look at it.
All right, to wrap up this explainer, let's run through the ultimate secure logging checklist. Your goal is to ensure your logs tell the complete story of every security-relevant action without accidentally handing over the keys to your kingdom. First, never log secrets, tokens, or PII. Second, always sanitize user data to block log injection. Third, embrace structured JSON logging so you can actually query your data when you're panicking during an outage. Fourth, centralize those logs immediately with immutable integrity protection. And most importantly, log enough of the right security events so you actually stand a chance of detecting incidents in the first place. I'm going to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder as you go back and review your own systems. If your server was compromised today, like right this second, what story would your logs actually tell? Are you flying completely blind or are you fully prepared for the investigation? Thank you so much for learning with me today. Go check those logs and I'll catch you in the next explainer.